welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
And this is Conversations with the Crawleys. We have conversations about faith, family, relationships, and we do recaps, reviews, and commentary on some of our favorite shows. This one is all about the OG of shows on this channel, Ready to Love in Miami. So, y'all know what to do. Hit that subscribe, hit the like, request notifications,
and share.
And we'll see you in the comments. And join the membership vibe.
Join the membership vibe.
All right.
Join the membership vibe. Join the membership.
Yeah, we got a membership live stream coming up soon that is just for members. So if you don't see what's going on that live stream, sorry. Not sorry. Because you had the opportunity. All right. So everybody's riding up to wherever they're going.
Somewhere in Florida.
Somewhere further in Florida.
Where there's more water.
Hopefully still safer for black people. All right. So, because there's some parts of Florida, especially you go further up in that panhandle area.
Oh, no. Me and Mickey hang out. That's where I be going.
And even Mickey sometimes got issues. Yep. All right. So, Katie is like, oh, this is basically going to be a couple's trip. Jamala's like, yep, I'm going to be in Randall's bed. He going to be on top of the sheets. I'm going to be under the sheets. We going to be there.
And the rest of his women.
Yeah. You need a bigger bed
tribe.
for Randall.
His tribe.
Brandy is in the other car. She's a little concerned. She's like, because Mike got all these connections with her and Kayla, so he's concerned that how that's going to go. She's concerned how that's going to go for the weekend. If he's going to still be feeling her or if he's going to sneak away with Kayla. And she's like, if he does that, she's like, well, I can sneak over to Samson's room.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Gonna steal his hair.
So Swayze arrives first. Kayla then arrives. And Kayla's like, I want Mike and Randall, which are her two connections. She's like, they need to step up this weekend.
Because she's like, I don't want to have to try to do something for them to notice me.
Yeah.
So they better come with their A game.
And she's like, I don't want to have to manufacture it or make it happen. I need for it to happen on their end. That is something that they're choosing to do, not something that I'm forcing them to do or triggering them to do.
Right. Because obviously you have these connections and you know when you have those getaways that you want to see who's really interested in you.
Who's really feeling you.
Or are they feeling their other connections more?
Yep.
So, and it's those little, you know, when you see them with the other person, the little touchy, feely moments where they're really connected.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, listen, these, the pool party and this one, the getaway, is always going to tell the truth about where things lie. As far because you're gonna be able to see up front and personal what's happening with the other person that they telling you, oh, we're just going out on dates every now and then. There's nothing really there. Nah.
You know when you're connecting and vibing with somebody,
right?
And other people see it, then they know like, well, maybe our connection is not as strong as I thought.
Sharice is saying as she arrives, she wants more intimate conversation with Samson. She's like, Samson's cool, but we need to go deeper.
Which you're trying to understand, right? Will I make, because she even said, will I make a long-term connection?
Right.
It's good for a couple days.
Right.
But if we're talking about being together forever, I need to see that you can go
what that
deeper.
looks like. Yep. Who you actually are. Swayze and Kadian, who are already in these Instagram streets, showing that they are in a full-blown relationship, even now. They wear matching outfits, got the matching Jordans.
I know. They look cute. So obviously they worked through the situation with the friend and they're in a better space.
Yes.
And that's what she was saying. She's like, okay, we made a plan to come this weekend and match. So she's like, she was feeling good about her connection with Swayze.
At least they didn't. And I'm probably dating my age right now, but remember growing up, you have folks that would come to like the picnic with like matching short linen sets.
Yeah, the jump. The short sets, they still make them.
Nah. No.
No way. You wouldn't be in
Nope. Not
in a
doing
short
that.
set. We can match, but you
right.
just don't want to be in the short set.
We don't have to match down to like the very same pattern and everything, right? We can coordinate, but it was corny then. Sorry.
Well, they weren't matching like.
They weren't matching to that extreme.
No, they were just coordinating.
They coordinated, right?
But they had matching shoes.
Right, which I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, because you keep trying to get me like to buy a matte pair of custom shoes.
Listen. Some custom Air Force Ones. Some custom Jordans. That's what I'm trying to get.
I mean, at 30, that's coming up closer.
Okay, we'll see. All right, I'll probably just have to get them for you. All right. Anyway, Trinika talked with LJ because everybody's starting to show up. And they're like, "Who's missing?" LJ ain't there.
Yeah, he's having his own party. Supposedly, he's at work because he had to speak at a conference.
Yep.
And so, obviously, money comes before chicks. So, we got to make the money to keep the chicks.
Yep.
So, he's actually at a conference. And, again, I keep, like, why does Tommy never know that these people are God? I don't get that. Like, I'm assuming they told producers they're not going to be there. But why is he finding out all late?
Tommy coming in clueless. Like,
Tommy
wait, what?
Like, what? Who? Don't he know this is a love conference? I am having a love conference. And he's supposed to be participating.
Listen, Tommy, I know you giving them a stipend. Well, not you, but Will Packer's giving them a stipend for being on the show.
They ain't paying no bills.
But, listen, if it comes to my check versus a stipend, my check's going to take precedence.
And he still checks in.
Yes.
So with
Trinika.
So at least he's taking the time and saying, hey, I do have to do this.
Right.
But I recognize that I am missing you and I wish I was there.
Katie sits next to Sharice and she's like, I still ain't spoken to her. I'm going to play it cool.
You know what? I've been faking all this time.
I'm going to just keep being
I'm going to keep being fake. Whatever works for you, right?
Pretty much.
Mainly, you're going to be there 48 hours. You could be spending time with your man and fighting with some chick over nothing.
Right.
So, she keeping it cordial, you keeping it 100 like you're doing, and just spend time with your man.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it.
And Katie was in the comments on our last video, and she kind of brought up a great point about why she thinks, and why I kind of hinted at this, why Sharice was making a big deal of it at the table, was because she's trying to play that game of let me embarrass this other woman in front of the guys so that they'll keep her around longer. So I will say, say what y'all will about Katie, but Katie, at least, she's like, look, I'm not gonna let this woman get me out of pocket. I don't have to like her. I can smile in your face, but I'm not playing that game. She's here for a purpose, right?
Right.
Say what you will about her.
Right.
So,
hey, I appreciate it because a lot of times we are fans of the show.
Yes.
So we're just going off of what we can see. We don't know what was cut.
We don't see all the text messages, what's going on at the get-togethers that they leave on the cutting room floor and all that stuff. So
a lot of times we're like, okay, based off of what you're giving me, this is all I have to go off of. Yeah. So appreciate that. Shout out.
Yep.
Hopefully you'll come on the show so we can learn more about you.
Yep. So Tommy talks about LJ not being there. And again, like we said, he got caught off. He feels like it seems like he was caught off guard. I think he was just kind of playing it up some.
Maybe.
But it's ladies' turn to eliminate some fellas.
So they got 24 hours, and in the morning,
somebody going home.
You better eat breakfast early.
Yep. Get you a smoothie on the go.
Because you're about to go back home.
Because Tommy's like, you overpacked.
You're overpacked.
Somebody gone. So they're sitting there. Mike asks Kadian why she only has one connection. And Kadian's like, that's what 8-pound, 3-ounce baby Jesus left for me. She's like, that's what the Lord gave me.
You're like, nah, don't put the Lord in this.
Don't put the Lord in this.
Don't put his name in there.
So then Kadian's like, well, at least I'm not like you and Brandy, where you and Brandy is married, but Kayla is the hot girl at the office that you keep trying to
work wife.
Right.
You just called her the work wife. And Brandy, and Kate was like, so
you saying I'm hot, and Brandy's old and disgusting,
right? And overweight.
Those were her words. That was a paraphrase of her words.
Right, that was a paraphrase of her words. But I'm like, okay, but when you think of a wife, do you think that all wives?
Because you're trying to be a wife.
That's what I'm saying. So that was off too. I was just like, the perspective here is like crazy. But here's someone else outside of them. What he's been kind of saying is like, this is what I know will work. This is like out of my
fantasy.
Right.
This is out of my league.
This is out of my league.
Or out of my normal.
Correct. Right. What I would normally date.
So Katie starts to flip it. She's like, okay, so what do you and Kayla have in common? Let's hear that. We all here, let's put all the cards on the table. What y'all got in common? Because you keep, playing around. Speak on that. And she's like, Kayla, don't you speak? Don't you put your name in this? Let him talk. And in typical Mike fashion, he really didn't have a whole lot to say.
I would have said that's very telling.
Yes.
If I'm a woman and you're dating me and someone else is asking you, what do you see in me that makes a connection? Mm-hmm. And you can't tell me?
Yep.
I would say that's very telling.
Extremely telling.
And disappointing.
Yeah.
Because this is not like we're in high school and playing games and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be shy about this.
Right.
We're in a process. You should be able to look me in my eye and say, babe, this is what I see in you and this is what I see in Brandy.
Right. That's the thing I was about to say, is that you should be, at this point, be able to say, these are the things I like about Kayla. Mm-hmm. These are the things I like about Brandy. Mm-hmm. And I'm having to make a decision between which one is going to be more fit for me going forward. That's understandable. That's a grown man conversation.
That's a grown man conversation with grown women who all in the process. She knows you like Kayla knows you like Brandy. It's just it's all there, but we need to know this is where I'm talking about there's levels.
Right.
We need to know where your level is. Mm-hmm. And when you can't give it, women look at you sideways. That's just how it works.
So Mike can't answer, and Kayla starts to say,
bye.
Yeah, well, because she says, it only feels authentic when Brandy's not around. If the only time you can tell me how you really feel is when the other chick ain't around,
you're not interested.
That's what she's saying. She's like, that's not going to work.
You're not interested in me. Just say you want to be with the other person. Stop going behind the scenes to say, girl, you know how I feel about you. What? No, it doesn't work that way. Mm-mm. It doesn't. Either you have strong feelings for both of us, or you don't. Move on.
So then Jamala is with Randall, and she's like, he's real chill, but she wants him to be more direct about how he's feeling, because Randall still got 3 connections. 3. Randall is still like, look, I ain't going home anytime soon.
Look, I'm going to figure this out all the way to the end before I decide. And we've noticed, I don't know if they watched this show in previous seasons, but he should understand there was previous season when someone was trying to hold on to multiple women.
Yep.
And he was like, I don't know which way I want to go, and being very, indecisive about his decision and keep on the fence. At some point, there's 5 guys?
5 or 6, yeah.
Right. So we're getting down to only a couple more episodes. Mm-hmm. So you should be able to know by, at least after the weekend, like, hey, I want to let you know I do feel like we have a strong connection, but I know this weekend will be more telling.
So, yeah. So, in my opinion, the difference between him and Mike is Mike's actions are saying one particular person, but he's kind of hiding and coming back towards the other person, and he can't communicate clearly. Mm-hmm. Randall, I don't think he has a problem with communicating. I think he's just not saying anything. I think also he's making each person feel special while he's with that person.
Of course he is, but not saying anything is not communicating. True. So, but you need to get, as you go further along, mm-hmm. you need to make some indication like, where am I? And being honest is saying, you know what? Mm-hmm. I do feel you're a strong connection, but I still feel like it's necessary for me to explore and mm-hmm. not to say you're not the one yet.
Yeah.
And it's okay. To me, I feel like it's okay to say that.
Oh, yeah.
But when you just keep, just like, when I'm with you, babe, I'm with you.
When I'm with you. So she asked him, they're talking, and because when Kayla came in, Kayla went and got a suite, right? So Jamala asked, well, have you seen Kayla's suite? He's like, no, should I? She's like, well, do you want to? And he's like, well, the way you asking me, it's like I need to go check it out. Well, do you want to go see her suite?
Here we go.
He's like, okay, I see how we playing this weekend already. We doing that. Okay. It's like, should I go check it out? Do you want to go check it out? No, you bringing it up. I had no questions in front of you about her suite.
Me and you hanging out. And again, I don't know how many episodes. We need to find every episode I've saying this. When you're dating and the man is dating multiple people, but you feel like you've made the decision that he's the one, you have to be sure that he's the one and trust the process. Mm-hmm. Now, you may or may not be picked.
Right.
But when that man is trying to decide between them and you start getting a little jealous and we getting loud and we're falling behind him, he's thinking you don't trust him. Even though he says, I done spent all this time with this woman. Mm-hmm. I gave her most of my attention with her. I'm telling her she's like my mom. I feel like we could be really, mm-hmm. on that level where there could be a friendship and intimacy, both.
Yep.
But you coming running behind me every time I turn around?
That don't work.
It don't work. Mm-mm. The most sexiest woman is the most confident woman. And when you can find confidence, like he could be running around that whole mansion, and I don't care who room is. But when you can sit knowing, like, my man gonna come back to me, oh, he gonna be coming looking for you. Yeah. He gonna figure out where you at.
I've said it before. One of the things that a lot of men, I can't speak for every man,
right?
But one of the things that a lot of men, especially mature men, will go for is they want a woman who is confident in herself and mm-hmm. confident in the relationship mm-hmm. and confident in where she stands. Mm-hmm. If there's this constant fishing for compliments, fishing for approval and validation and everything, after a while, I'm gonna get tired of having to pump you up. I'm gonna get tired of boosting your ego. I need you to come. Now I'm gonna tell you you're attractive. I'm gonna tell you that you're, right. But if it's I need that to feel secure, you can miss me with that.
Right, because like when he first got there, they were together. Mm-hmm. And he kept saying throughout the course of this episode, I spend the most time with her. Mm-hmm. So why is she not trusting me? I thought we built up to the point where she understood pretty much, like he's saying, she's number one. Out of all the concubines.
Right. You call them concubines.
Out of all the concubines. I mean, because out of all of them, like, you're the number one. You're the one I ask for to come all the time. They get asked every now and then.
We are, listen, Jamala, Trinika, Kayla, we are not calling y'all concubines.
I'm trying to use
that as a figure of speech.
A figure of speech.
Y'all are not concubines. That's have them blowing up our comments. Who you calling a concubine? We're not, no.
I'm just saying because, like, he's dating multiple people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And a king, he only sees them, well, to my knowledge, I'm talking about fairy tales, right? It's a movie.
Yes.
So, he calling her. He's spending time with her. And he's saying, you're getting most of my attention.
Yes.
So why are you tripping right now?
Why are you stressing?
Like, baby, don't say no more.
Now, on the flip side of not stressing at all, Samson and Brandy have a conversation.
Correct.
And they're laid out on like a little beanbag or something. They were laid out somewhere. And Brandy's like, we got a strong connection, but she wants to kind of see where it is, what's really going on here. And Samson, our boy Samson, was kind of like, hey, what's that scar on your face? I was thinking about calling you Scarface. You're spunky. And was just kind of like disengaged, disconnected from the conversation with Brandy.
I don't know what happened. It was like we saw at one point, let's talk about the pool party, right?
Yes.
We seemed like he was very engaged and having really, I would say, a good, strong conversation. But now we're several episodes in, and they're showing him again where he's having a longer conversation, and it seems very surface.
Yes.
And it doesn't seem like there really was a connection between him and Brandy like we were thinking. Right. So,
because I think if we go back to when they first had their date, it was like I could see that, right? it was an interesting combination. I'll say that it was an interesting combination.
And we're like, oh, okay,
right.
It wasn't like, yeah, no. It was more like, oh, this would be something to explore,
right? Because I've been looking at Mike, like Mike really is not saying a whole lot. Mike's not really communicating. So for Brandy, yes, this could be Mike could be her fun person, but maybe for the next level for her, it could be Samson, is what I'm thinking, right? But now I'm looking at Samson like, bruh, you're not really, in my opinion, as far as what's being seen, again, we recognize that some of this could be left on the cutting room floor. We got that. But from what's being portrayed and what's being seen is that there's not a whole lot of depth coming, at least for the opportunity to maybe make that connection, right? And granted, if Charisse is your person, then have your deep conversations with her. We'll talk about that in a moment. But basically, it was like he was saying, without saying, I'm not really feeling you. Charisse is my person. He did kind of mention that Charisse is where he's feeling a strong connection. But it was just kind of like, you ever watch a movie and it's just like a very disappointing end, just like it ends abruptly, like Honk for Jesus. In fact, go watch that video review that we did of that. But that's kind of how it was. Just like it was just a balloon falling down or whatever. It was just flat.
It just felt like it was something we already knew. Yeah, they didn't really have any type of spark, other than maybe being good friends. I could see them as friends, hanging out. But it didn't come across like anything. I felt like he had maybe a deeper connection with Charisse at the beginning when they were talking about their families and different stuff like that. But I just think that he was just like, I'm kind of like over it. Yeah. We're good to be just friends. Yep. He just kind of gave me that impression.
Yeah. He was just like, okay, all right, we're good. Katie and Swayze were cooking in the kitchen. And trying to get some cooking going on.
Trying to get some cooking going on.
They was trying to stir up some stuff.
Right. I mean, I'm really starting to see their chemistry more. And, outside of the playfulness and stuff that they got going, I think this really kind of showed them really wanting to connect this weekend, being on the same page, and learning more from each other. You learn a lot when you can cook and participate in those activities. So they're finding ways to have an activity where they can really see how the chemistry in the kitchen is. Yep.
And then Randall does go and have a conversation with Trinika. And Trinika does what we suggest to all of the ladies in this type of environment. She asks, what's going on with us? She could care less really about, now it's probably in the back of her mind as far as what's happening with Jamala and what's happening with Kayla for Randall, but she does not bring that up. She asks what's happening with them, and then Randall can say, well, this is where I'm at. Randall's like, I haven't spent a lot of time with you, and that's not intentional that I'm avoiding you. It's just I haven't, and he's like, I have to be more intentional about spending that time.
I mean, again, he feels like every time he talks to her, he learns something new.
Yeah.
Or he feels more intrigued by her.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're one that you're considering number one is making you shut down.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm seeing something that maybe I need to be exploring more. Mm-hmm. And again, that's how it happens. If one person, it's stressful anyway.
Right.
And when we're not taking in consideration that the other person is experiencing the same stress as you, and they're trying to manage being in three people's lives, I think, again, we lose sight of great opportunities for you to stand out. You want to stand out? Say, hey, I know this weekend's going to be stressful.
Be the safe place.
Yes. Every man wants a safe place. And when you can say, you know what, I know this is stressful. You're dealing with 3 different personalities, and there's 3 women you're interested in. Just whatever you need, I'll be here for you. And just walk away. Woo, boy.
Listen, we about to cut this video out.
I'm just telling you. Hey, you want game, look. You want to catch him? Put the ring on it?
Be the safe place. I can't stress that enough. If I got to deal with the stress of being a black man in America, the stress on my job, and then I come home or go out on a date and get stressed more, I can give up that stress that doesn't pay me. Sorry. All right. So a little later, Kayla walks up on Sharice Sampson, and they're talking. Then Randall kind of joins in, and then the tracker comes in, Jamala. She comes in, and by this time, though, Kayla and Randall are talking. I think they're talking about your first kiss. Everybody's talking about your first kiss, remembering that, what have you.
Right.
And Kayla's like all up on Randall. And
it's her time.
Right, it's her time, and she's making it known that there's a connection there. She does like a little alpha female thing, and she's like, this is my time. Don't. So they're all talking. Yeah,
redeeming my time.
Redeeming my time. So then Jamala kind of interacts, and Kayla's like, hey, Randall, you want to go inside? Randall's like, sure. So they go inside.
And leave her sitting there.
At the pool with, now bear in mind, I think it was Sharice and Sampson are still there. So it's not like they just like left her completely alone. But they were like, we're going to go have this conversation. You stay here and have that conversation over there. So they go in to Randall's room, right? I think it was Randall's room.
I believe so, yes.
Kayla's on the bed, and Jamala is like looking in every...
No. You can't.
Go ahead.
So Kayla jumps on the bed. She laughing. Kayla knows what she doing.
Yeah.
Kayla laughing. I was like, the shade is being thrown. So she was like, you gonna change? Go ahead, change. Go ahead, change. And he's like, man, you putting me in a rough spot. Why are you doing this to me? And so he's trying to get his clothes and stuff. And Jamala's like, what is going on? They left, and they're not in the living room. They're not in the kitchen. They're not in any open public spaces in this house. Don't let me find out. They're in his room.
And that's what she does. She goes into the room, and she gets a hat. It was just the most random thing. It was like, oh, don't mind me. I'm just in here to get this almost, right? And it was something that was inconsequential, not anything that she needed at that time. It was just to kind of see what was going on. And Randall, being the intelligent man that he is, was like, okay, I got you. I see you. So they'll come back to that. But Katie and Swayze go out jet skiing. They have fun.
With Sampson
and Sharice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then LJ FaceTimes Trinika. And Trinika's like, you should be here.
Get voted out. I'm just letting you know.
Right.
So I hope whatever you getting for that conference speaker fee is worth it, because you're about to get voted off the island.
Okay. And then Sharice and Samson are talking. And he's rubbing her feet, what have you. Cool. I guess then Samson's a foot guy.
Yeah, the feet. He was looking like, let me check these toes, make sure they don't got no bunions. Yes. He's like, ooh, you bunion free. These are lickable toes.
But then he starts talking about, man, I'm gonna make some corn on the cob. I want to have some corn. I'm gonna have a restaurant that's only gonna serve corn on the cob. I'm gonna do food trucks with just corn on the cob
and water.
We just
bottles of water.
If the world ends tomorrow, we're just gonna have corn on the cob and water.
I was like, are you talking about Mexican corn? Because I know they just
some
sell
elote, yeah,
some elote. So,
but yeah, it was like, even she was like, okay,
Samson, you like corn, huh? Yeah, you haven't had my corn. My corn, boy, would just set you off. It's like,
listen, everybody has their specialty as far as what they cook. I'm more of a smoker. My brisket is on point. My ribs is on point. My pulled pork is on point. But for Samson, if his corn on the cob is on point,
bring it to the barbecue.
Bring it to the cookout. So I was like,
I'm like, okay.
But again, we kind of see where there was an opportunity for deeper conversation, and what we saw was not there.
Because it's those alone times where you want to feel like you're creating intimacy.
Yep.
And he says he likes a woman with a mind. Why he ain't tapping into him?
All right. So then Jamala does go into Randall's room. And Randall basically calls her out. He's like,
I know what you
wasn't slick.
Right.
I peeped your game the moment I heard your footsteps coming around the corner. I knew what you was trying to do. And she's like, oh, am I supposed to just be smiling when old girl is tickling your scrotum?
I was like, woo.
He was like, oh, whoa.
Don't do that. Don't go there. She didn't go there, and you're not going to go there in words. Yep. So don't even play that.
So she was basically like, I can't keep smiling, and she's like, you're pushing me. That's what the word she said. She's like, you keep pushing me. And she's like, she can't play it cool forever.
And she's like, I can't keep this capacity, like, it's past my capacity, what she said. I'm so like, are y'all sleeping together? Are we already sleeping together? And is he just playing and then she feels like he's playing these games and talking to these other girls where if we're sleeping together, that means we together.
Yeah.
So we don't know. But her energy, that's big energy. Like, we're connected.
Yes.
So
that's full blown relationship energy, not I'm trying to still figure out
us energy.
Right.
So, but we don't know that. We don't. But it's just, you're giving so much energy to it.
Yeah.
And when we feel like everyone, like he says, everyone understands the process. We're going through a process here. But like he said, he's spending a lot of time with her. If you're spending a lot of time with someone and you're creating your intimacy out of this sphere that's created for you, and you're putting yourself in a place where now this person feels and knows like, I'm special because of whatever going on, then it makes more sense.
Yep.
So if we had context, we'd be like, okay, what you're doing, it makes sense. Right now,
it don't make sense.
It don't make sense until until we see the reunion.
Yeah.
And they're willing to spill the tea.
Yeah.
You can kind of go from there.
So then other little things happen, but Swayze jokes about how he's going to be going home in the morning.
He said, I got one connection.
Yeah.
He's just making it plain.
But if we're honest, there's a couple people that only have one connection,
Pretty
right?
much.
So he's got the one connection.
You could say Samson's got the one connection
because he cut off Brandy. He he did a forearm shiver on Brandy. He basically, that's what he did. It's like, and then Jamala just has the one connection with Randall. So,
and then LJ.
Yeah.
And Trinika.
Well, LJ got connections that he need to handle at home because he's still sleeping with his ex. That's a whole.
Did say that.
Yeah. Don't forget that happened. Okay.
It was last month though.
It was last week. Well, yeah, it was last. Yeah.
It was last month though.
Okay. That might be he might have his +1 on the convention.
His +1.
All right. So dinner, they all have dinner, and Samson starts the question of what brought you to this point, and Trinika becomes vulnerable. She kind of shares her story about how she basically last year she said she cried every day for about 3 months, but she's also like she did the work so that she wasn't coming into this process with baggage. Something triggered in Randall because he started.
Randall had a full cry. This whole beautiful. Side was wet. It was like wet, right up in here, wet.
That's just so wonderful.
And everybody was like, "You want to go next because this really everybody like this really touched you." Well, go ahead, Randall. What we missing out on?
So then Randall talks about how he's accomplished a lot of his goals. Right. He actually got a full outfit instead of just the shorts that he's been wearing every date that he's been going on this past few weeks.
Alone.
I'm just saying, he at least came with some grown man. He at least came with some grown man gear this time.
Rara needed to share, so
Rara needed to stop shopping at
when he was talking, he was saying he made all these accomplishments, but he had anyone to share it with.
Right.
And that's the reason why he was here. He was like, any other milestones in his life, he wants to have somebody with him, which makes sense. So everyone kind of, went around the table.
Swayze said, love scares him.
It should. It should scare you. And I feel like that's real.
That's valid, yes.
It really is. And I'm glad he was able to share that, right? Because he always gives a different perspective on things. Right. But he's coming from a real place. And it can be scary.
Yeah.
And uncomfortable and vulnerable. And so I think, maybe he's fallen in love.
It's possible. Brandy, however, says that she's never been in love.
Yeah.
Now, in some respects, that can be a red flag, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because we're not talking about a 21, 22-year-old. We're talking about a person in their mid-30s, right? So to say that you've never been in love then makes me question what relationships have you been having and why have they not developed to that place? Not saying that they had to go to the altar, but at some point there should be somebody in your life, in my opinion, that you can say it wasn't maybe the right timing. We just realized it wasn't it, but I love that person, and it just didn't work out. I can work with that, but to say that 30 plus years you've never been in love, I question that.
I think if anyone ever comes to that point where they feel like in their relationships they were never in love, it's something being investigated with having a counselor or a therapist, right?
Yep.
Because I think, was it her with her friend? They were saying, well, Mike would be a good fit for you, but we were asking, like, kind of having this conversation about, is Mike the typical guy that she goes for?
Right.
And does she need something
different?
Else?
Right.
Need something different in her life to work out? Yeah. Because she does. She seemed like a very mature young woman, really got everything going, but just wants to have that companionship. Right. So hopefully she finds it or realize some new things about herself.
Yep.
Through the process, or watching herself back on video.
Yep.
Right.
Mike then talks about what y'all looking for. I done already had. I've already been married. I married my his childhood sweetheart.
Yeah, his childhood sweetheart.
He's like, so I've already been there, and I want it again. right? So that for at least for Brandy was like, okay, he's loved, he's been married, and to say that he wants it again, for her that was very attractive, right? And so it was probably the first time that Mike really was open and vulnerable that we've seen on camera.
Right. And so he actually put thought in what he was saying, right?
Yep.
Because people who've never been married would think, like, if you divorce, why would you want to do it again?
Right.
You have the ability to be single. But when someone says, being committed to one person and having that person in my life to go through every emotion of life, I still want that.
Yep.
It is telling.
Yep.
So I'm glad you shared it.
Randall and Mike then talking after everybody's clearing the tables. Randall and Mike are talking. And Randall kind of says that, okay, this weekend started off rocky. And then it got even more rockier.
It's like my little rocks turned into boulders. It's pretty much what he said.
But he says he also realized that Jamala is not as tough as she portrays herself. And Mike's like, you ain't see that already? He's like, I peeped that day one. So Randall is coming to some understanding of who he really is dating, as far as all the personalities and ups, downs, strengths, weaknesses, right? So then it's time to go to bed. It's time to turn in because somebody getting sent home in the morning. And so you see, Swayze and Katie kind of hug, and she leaves out, it looks like. Sharice flirts a little with Samson as she's going and, starts showing leg, what have you. But Mike and Brandy end up on the same side of the door.
No, they didn't end up. They did that on purpose.
Well, they ended up on the same side of the door and closed the door. And it's like, y'all cameramen, y'all go home for the night. What happened on the other side, don't worry about it.
So this is what I'm talking about, right? When you decide to make these kind of choices, to me, this is solidifying I'm picking this person.
Yep.
Because when you have other options, you're going to say, you know what? I'm going to leave and go to my room, and my options are going to their rooms. Because I'm going to keep level playing field on handlers.
Yep.
Because we saw this last season, right? People sharing rooms and wearing matching outfits. And what did the person do? They went to that young lady and says, you know what? This is not the way I want it to be done.
Right.
But it's determined that I really have this strong connection with this one person.
Yep.
And it's not going to work out for us.
Yeah, we're talking about Joey and Clifton and Daki, I think was who it was last season.
Because they had their trip. And Joey was like, that's my bag with my man.
Yep.
We're a couple.
Yep.
And even though the kid was seeing it, he was like, okay, this has to be now said. Right. Because he at first Clifton was like, I'm open. I want to see where this is going to go, blah, blah, blah. Even though the kid saw this extra option, he was like, okay, but you're really connected to this other person. Yeah. So they had to have a conversation. Yeah.
So, but this season, there was no conversation that we've seen so far.
Well,
there'll be a conversation next episode. We'll say that.
But it's not the conversation you would think it is going to be.
Mike trying to play games. Mike, listen, I'll give you credit, Mike, for trying to play games.
No. I wouldn't give him credit.
I'm giving him credit for trying to play games. I'm not approving of it. I'm just giving him credit that he's trying to.
He's not trying well. He's not doing it well.
I give him an A for effort.
Trubisky is trying to play football. So
he get an A for effort, but he get an F minus for execution.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of people in life trying stuff. He's not trying it very well.
So Tommy shows up, and Tommy's like, all right, ladies, let's talk. Y'all looking like y'all the cast of Waiting to Exhale Part 4. Let's go have a conversation. And so he's like, okay, who y'all feeling? Because at this point, there is no, I still am just trying to figure it all out. You got to have some strong answers as far as who you feeling at this time. So Katie, of course, is feeling Swayze. That's her connection. Trinika is stuck right now between LJ and Randall. Kayla is on Randall, with Randall's basically feeling Randall. She's like, he has that emotional maturity that she's looking for. Jamala again mentions Randall. Brandy, of course, says Mike. Sharice says Samson, that he's lovable but corny. So we kind of know where things are as far as who's feeling who. But then Tommy's like, okay, so who you not feeling? Who ain't the one? Brandy's like, LJ is cool, but that ain't her cup of tea. Kayla, Katie, and Brandy all talk about how Samson is not the one, and they're talking about his surface level, right? And then Kayla, Jamala, and Trinika are like, Swayze's cool, but he the homie.
Right.
Now it's interesting because normally, because if you remember the lady who got kicked off the first week, I think it was Dominica. She was giving homie vibes. So it takes a little while for the guys, in some respects, to display those homie vibes, or to at least be called out on it. Because Swayze has been cool with pretty much everybody, I think, from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Him and Katie have been, in my opinion, they've kind of been underground for a while, but they've been building strong. So then, as far as the chopping block, Tommy's like, all right.
Who you not feeling?
Right. So they've gone through that. And so now they're all gathered there, and Tommy's like, okay, y'all need to know that this conversation did also include a conversation about LJ. So just because LJ was off with his company, having his convention, and maybe his +1.
Shut up.
We don't know. We don't know who was holding up his phone while he was having the conversation with Trinika. I'm playing. All right.
Play too much.
No. Anyway, Samson and Swayze are now also in the bottom 3 in theory, because LJ could be in the conversation. And who was it? Brandy is the one kind of delivering the news. She says, Samson, you are everybody's friend, but they need more. And Swayze is everybody's homie, but homies don't work as far as being lovers. So we're about to hear news, and then Tommy steps in and is like, nah, I got this. This is my decision. And then it goes to next week on Ready to Love.
Dramatic pause.
So, cliffhanger, but I think LJ is gone.
Yeah, I think LJ is gone.
Because we do at least see Samson in the promo the following week. So I think LJ is gone because I don't know that his connection with Trinika was that strong. Right? So he's gone. But what's interesting is, if you look at the trailer for next week, it looks like Mike was trying to, as Kayla was packing her bags and rolling out.
Before you go home. Hey, before you go home.
Hey, girl, let me holler at you.
I'm feeling you, girl. I'm feeling you. Bye-bye.
Hey, Shawty. Hey, Shawty, what your name is?
Bye-bye.
All right. So we'll see. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what we missed. Let us know who you think is gone. And let us know what couples you think are going to make it all the way through, and who is just faking the funk to stay on the show just a little bit longer. All right. That's it. We'll see y'all next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.
Bye.
Bye.
He said bye-bye.